Donald Trump is running scared with under 30 days until Election Day. Not quite the time you want to completely implode, if I do say so myself. Have you noticed that he keeps canceling interviews left and right? I mean, the guy is absolutely petrified to appear in front of an actual journalist. His rallies are becoming more unhinged and more bizarre and more incoherent. And even worse for Donald Trump, the corporate media is finally running front page stories about his mental decline. He's resorted to his unhinged posts on social media, attacking Jimmy Kimmel for the Oscars still. It's all getting very weird. Meanwhile, Vice President Kamala Harris and Governor Tim Walz are out there. They're reaching actual gettable, undecided voters by appearing on a series of interviews on late night shows, on podcasts, actually doing the work and doing it at the right time. It's such a joy to see. My name is Brett Meiselas here with the MeidasTouch Network. I'm going to guide you through all of this. First, I need you to hit subscribe. We are on our way to 3.5 million subscribers, and we can't do it without you. Okay, first I want to speak about Vice President Kamala Harris's interview on Call Her Daddy with Alex Cooper. This was a fantastic interview. I had a chance to listen to the full thing. The two of them spoke about women's freedom, reproductive rights, and Kamala Harris also got to speak about her kind of coming-of-age story, her life, which was really refreshing to hear, quite frankly. This podcast is a podcast that reaches a ton of specifically female voters for the most part. It's a massive podcast and an ideologically diverse audience. Trump supporters were quite upset with the host Alex Cooper for not having Donald Trump on as well. Here's the thing. Donald Trump apparently was invited, but according to Alex Cooper, he either did not respond or declined her invitation to appear on the podcast. You see this concept, all right? You're going to see this throughout. Donald Trump being too afraid to be confronted on his record. Specifically, this show, which speaks a lot about reproductive freedom, you know Donald Trump does not want to answer those questions. Vice President Kamala Harris was happy to go on the record with her support for women's rights. I'm going to get to that in a little bit. Even Trumpers, like the biggest Trump fans like Cernovich here, is saying that this is a big deal for Vice President Kamala Harris. And he's telling all his fellow Trump supporters that you shouldn't be mocking this. This is a big deal. Here's what he had to say. Call Her Daddy is a massively popular podcast. I don't listen, but many millions do. And if you don't know this, you honestly should not be posting or talking about politics at all. You are so lost. As our editor-in-chief Ron Filipkowski says, let Trump continue to do Fox and Newsmax. Harris will continue to seek out potential voters who have not been engaged with politics. Some of them get it. And let me show you Vice President Harris's schedule coming up this week. The Harris campaign announced a major series of interviews and campaign stops. Tonight, Kamala Harris will appear on 60 Minutes for an interview. On Tuesday, she's going to appear on The View, on The Howard Stern Show, and on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. On Wednesday and Thursday, she's going to be campaigning in Nevada and participating in a Univision town hall. And on Friday, she will be campaigning in Arizona. As a reminder, Donald Trump was all set to appear on 60 Minutes on the same show. They do these election specials every year and have been doing them for 50 plus years. But about a week ago or so, we found out that Donald Trump had pulled out of his upcoming interview. Here's what 60 Minutes had to say about that. Programming note. 60 Minutes is scheduled to air a primetime election special on a Monday edition of the broadcast on October 7th at 8 p.m. For over half a century, 60 Minutes has invited the Democratic and Republican tickets to appear on our broadcast as Americans head to the polls. This year, both the Harris and Trump campaigns agreed to sit down with 60 Minutes. Vice President Harris will speak with correspondent Bill Whitaker. After initially accepting 60 Minutes' request for an interview with Scott Pelley, former President Trump's campaign has decided not to participate. Pelley will address this Monday evening. Our election special will broadcast the Harris interview on Monday as planned. Our original invitation to Donald Trump to be interviewed on 60 Minutes stands. And as this came out, Donald Trump's team, of course, got all, upset that this was going viral. And Donald Trump's very strange spokesperson, Stephen Chung, wrote a very Trumpy statement where he revealed the reason why Donald Trump refuses to participate. Here it is. He did not want Donald Trump to be fact-checked. They're too afraid of Donald Trump being fact-checked. Are you noticing a theme between him and J.D. Vance being a terrified of being fact-checked. Here's what Stephen Chung wrote, and this is all lies right here. He wrote, fake news, 60 Minutes begged for an interview, even after they were caught lying about Hunter Biden's laptop in 2020. There were initial discussions, but nothing was ever scheduled or locked in. I mean, that's just completely false. Then he gives the game away right here. They also insisted on doing live fact-checking, which is unprecedented. You think it's unprecedented for a journalist to fact-check the person they're interviewing? Have you ever heard of an interview before? It's kind of the whole thing that happens. But Donald Trump is absolutely terrified to appear in front of real journalists. We've seen this time and time again. And do you remember the disaster that it was last time Donald Trump appeared on 60 Minutes when he actually stormed out of the room?
I think we have enough of an interview here, Hope. Okay, that's enough. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go meet for 2 seconds, okay? Thanks. I'll see you in a little while. Thanks.
Be careful.
Yeah, that was during the 2020 campaign, and Donald Trump apparently still cannot get over it. I want to show you some of the moments that got Donald Trump so angry during that interview. Hint, they were very basic questions. I'll get into that shortly. But Donald Trump at his rally in Wisconsin over the weekend was still speaking about this and kind of demanding that 60 Minutes apologize for, I guess, fact-checking him and the way they interviewed him. Watch this.
Kamala has proven that she cannot be trusted and she can't do the job. First of all, she's grossly incompetent. I don't care. She doesn't do interviews. They said, why doesn't she do? Because she isn't competent. She can't answer the question. She can't answer anything. And I don't know, you know, they want to do 60 Minutes. Remember, I had it out with them last time because they had the laptop from hell and they said it was from Russia. I said, no, it was from Hunter. I turned out to be right. Remember Leslie Stahl? She's another real heavyweight. Leslie Stahl, we got into like an argument on 60 Minutes, and I turned out to be right. But to the best of my knowledge, I have not received an apology. That was a big deal at the time. She said, how dare you? You shouldn't say that. This was from Russia. I said, it wasn't from Russia. It was from Hunter. Oh, it's terrible. So we're waiting for an apology. They want to do it again. I'll do it again, but they got to apologize. Don't you think I should make them apologize? Yeah.
And the guy is just so pathetic. Let's be honest here. And this is a video that we made at the time. This is from October 2020. And this was one of the questions that 60 Minutes asked Donald Trump. They were asking him about the fact that he would go to all these rallies and he would beg suburban women, saying, suburban women, will you please love me? Will you love me, suburban women? I love you. Will you please love me? This is something, by the way, he still does to this day. But they asked him about this on 60 Minutes, and he got super offended. Remember, this is from October 2020. This is a video we put together. Watch this.
You said the other day to suburban women, will you please like me, please?
Oh, I didn't say that. You know, that's so misleading the way.
Suburban women, will you please like me?
I say jokingly, suburban women, you should love me.
Suburban women, please vote for me.
The way you have it, it's like, oh, like I'm begging.
Will you please like me? Remember? Please. Please.
I mean, the guy can't handle very simple questions, and he's afraid to confront his own words and his own record. Like during that same interview, he was asked about demanding that people be locked up, like Governor Gretchen Whitmer, like Hillary Clinton. Donald Trump denied ever using the phrase, lock her up. I mean, that was like your big slogan back in 2020. Here was another video we made that captured that exchange. Watch this.
You don't want to lock up Governor Whitmer, but you want
When
to
did I
lock
say
up
lock her up? I
the
never said.
Bidens. You want to lock
Wait a minute.
up
When did I
Obama.
say lock her up?
You got to get your governor to open up your state, okay? Lock them all up.
When did I say lock up the governor? I didn't say lock up the governor.
All right.
Lock them all up.
Why would I lock her up? No, but why did you say you don't want to lock up the governor? Of course I don't want to lock her up.
Lock them all up.
Why would I lock her
Because
up?
you were in front of a rally of people saying it, encouraging it.
I never said it, Leslie.
Lock them all up.
Leslie, it's such a vicious thing you just said. I never said lock up the governor of Michigan. I would never say that.
Well, did you?
Why would I say that?
Lock them all up.
And when Donald Trump was actually answering questions on the show, he was saying things like he'd be happy if people were stripped of their health care in our country. Watch this.
If the Supreme Court ends this Obamacare.
Well, we'll have to see what happens. It's got a ways to go. I mean, we'll see what happens. I think it'll end. I hope that they end it. It'll be so good if they end.
So I guess it's no surprise that Donald Trump is too afraid to answer very basic questions again. He can't handle it, and I think his handlers are absolutely scared of him being in front of real journalists. The press likes to act like he does all these interviews. He really doesn't. He's on Hannity like all the time. Like, that's not a real interview. That's a campaign ad, okay? Meanwhile, Donald Trump on his social media app is still tortured by Jimmy Kimmel making fun of him at the Oscars, and this is what he wrote on Truth Social. He wrote, "Remember this, what a dope. His wife and agent begged him not to do it, and just before Best Picture award, yet he suffers from Trump derangement syndrome. All of this on top of really bad ratings for Jimmy, just like failing Bill Maher and the two clowns on CBS and NBC. No talent equals bad ratings." Like, dude, that was months and months and months and months ago. He posted this yesterday, just for the record. He posted this yesterday. Jimmy Kimmel responded on Threads, writing, "Thank you, former President Trump, for again reminding America that everyone laughed at you at the Oscars. While the haters say you should be focused on the, quote, important things, know that I appreciate you, always including me, and I look forward to visiting you often in jail." Donald Trump was also posting his election lies, once again, ramping up in the same way that he did during the last election in the lead up to January 6th. This time he has Elon Musk by his side to amplify these lies and disinformation. Donald Trump posted a screenshot of a post that Elon Musk was responding to. The individual Elon Musk was responding to said, "Some fun facts about the Democrat plan to steal elections using overseas ballots." And then it had a bunch of lies and disinformation. This is the way Elon elevates things on his app. He goes like this. He says, "Is this for real?" No, none of the things that they said are for real. But that's Elon's way of stirring the boat, rocking the boat rather, and trying to cause trouble. And then Donald Trump picks it up and he writes, "Lawyers at RNC, stop this fraud now." So it appears that Donald Trump does not want citizens who are overseas to be able to vote. It appears that he does not want our military overseas to vote. Really disgraceful stuff, and just the same 2020 playbook that we are all sick of. The corporate media is finally picking up on Donald Trump's mental decline. Finally. You know, I don't know what took them so long, but at least I'm happy that they're doing it now, about 30 days or so until Election Day. The New York Times ran this story, which was on the front page of their website, that said Trump's speeches, increasingly angry and rambling, reignite the questions of age. I'll read you just a brief part of that, where they said, "He rambles, he repeats himself, he roams from thought to thought, some of them hard to understand, some of them unfinished, some of them factually fantastical. He voices outlandish claims that seem to be made up out of whole cloth. He digresses into bizarre tangents about golf, about sharks, about his own, quote, beautiful body. He relishes, quote, a great day in Louisiana after spending the day in Georgia. He expresses fear that North Korea is, quote, trying to kill me, when he presumably means Iran. As late as last month, Mr. Trump was still speaking as if he were running against President Biden 5 weeks after his withdrawal from the race." And one of the things I noticed in reading this report is it's like they compiled like all of our reporting over the past few months and finally had a chance to actually speak about it. But whatever, let's move on. Let's show an example of this from Donald Trump's rally over the weekend. This was in Wisconsin. Once again, there was a fly that appeared around Donald Trump. You know what flies are attracted to, right, guys? Well, this keeps happening. And this was Donald Trump's reaction to the fly, which was near him at this event.
A coal plant a week. I don't like flies. Get out of here, fly. Never been a big fan of flies. You don't mind my bringing that up, do you? Anyway, this is a very aggressive sucker, that is. This one. This one in particular is very aggressive. Like, I'm going to be aggressive for our country. You can probably say that.
And when Donald Trump wasn't distracted by flies, he was telling the audience in Wisconsin that he hates paying overtime and he would always find ways to not pay his workers overtime. Watch this.
And you have a lot of overtime people here. You have a lot of people that work a lot of overtime. I used to hate to pay overtime, Troy. Oh, I used to hate to pay overtime. I did everything I could to get out of it.
I don't know about you, but that feels like a weird message to constantly be saying at all of your rallies when you want to get the votes of workers. But you do you, Donald, okay? Alex Cooper at Call Her Daddy. I want to show you this clip. She asked Vice President Kamala Harris about Trump's creepy comments that he's made recently about women, where he said cultish things like, "I will be your protector." Here was Vice President Harris's response to Alex Cooper asking her for her thoughts. Watch this.
I do want to reference something I saw was at a rally in Pennsylvania. Former President Trump recently told women, "You will be protected and I will be your protector." What do you make of that?
So he who, when he was president, hand-selected 3 members of the United States Supreme Court with the intention that they would undo the protections of Roe v. Wade. And they did just as he intended. And there are now 20 states with Trump abortion bans, including bans that make no exception for rape or incest, which we just discussed, which means that you're telling a survivor of a crime, of a violation to their body, they don't have a right to make a decision about what happens to their body next, which is immoral. So this is the same guy that is now saying that. This is the same guy who said that women should be punished for having abortions. This is the same guy who uses the kind of language he does to describe women.
Well said. And on that note, let's listen to what J.D. Vance had to say in Butler, Pennsylvania, to a reporter who asked if a Trump-Vance administration would defund Planned Parenthood.
On the question of defunding Planned Parenthood, look, I mean, our view is we don't think that taxpayers should fund late-term abortions. That has been a consistent view of the Trump campaign the first time around. It will remain a consistent view.
And I know Trump and his acolytes like to use this phrase Trump derangement syndrome for people who rightfully think Donald Trump is a threat to our country, but the real people who have Trump derangement syndrome are Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, Mike Johnson, and everybody in this MAGA cult. And I'll show you what I mean right here. Everybody still remembers that non-answer that J.D. Vance gave when he was asked during the vice presidential debate if Donald Trump lost in 2020. Now, this has become the biggest moment of the debate that people are still speaking about, and thankfully, the press is stepping up and they are now asking other Republicans this same question. So over the weekend, George Stephanopoulos asked this to Speaker Mike Johnson. Mike Johnson called it a gotcha question and refused to answer.
Well, it's very clear you're not going to condemn the basis suggestion the Democrats are behind the assassination attempt on Donald Trump. I want to ask you another question.
There's so many. Please, anything.
Well, you have the opportunity to condemn it if you want. You have that opportunity, but we can move on now. I do want to ask you a question that Senator Vance did not answer at this week's debate. Can you say unequivocally that Joe Biden won the 2020 election and Donald Trump lost?
See, this is the game that is always played by mainstream media with leading Republicans. It's a gotcha game. You want us to litigate things that happened 4 years ago when we're talking about the future. We're not going to talk about what happened in 2020. We're going to talk about 2024 and how we're going to solve the problems for the American people. I think this game that's played all the time, I'm not going to engage in it. We're not talking about that. Joe Biden has been the president for almost 4 years. Everybody needs to get over this and move forward. That's what we need to talk about. What happens on November 5 and the days after that? I think that's really important, and that's what the Americans demand for us to talk about.
So like Senator Vance, you cannot say unequivocally that Joe Biden won the 2020 election and Donald Trump lost?
George, I'm the Speaker of the House. I work with the President of the United States all the time. Joe Biden has been the president for 4 years. There's not a question about this, okay? It's already been done and decided, and this is a gotcha game that's played, and I'm not playing it. I want to talk about the future.
Let me show you the difference in these two headlines. We see the AP headline from the past weekend. Harris hands out meals, consoles family as she surveys Hurricane Helene devastation in Georgia. Let's reflect on the CNN headline from October 3rd, 2017, almost a few years ago to the day. Trump tosses paper towels into Puerto Rico crowd. Yeah, what a difference. I think that says a whole lot. CNN was busy fact-checking Donald Trump's countless lies, and they actually made a timeline of Donald Trump's lies throughout this disaster. Andrew Bates, who works with the Kamala Harris campaign, wrote, "Speaking not as a Democrat, but a furious North Carolinian, I can't imagine a more sick, damning invalidation of a candidate. Trump has told a, quote, barrage of lies and become, quote, one of the country's leading deceivers on the, quote, response to Hurricane Helene. And he is quoting the CNN story, which is called Fact Check, 6 days of Trump lies about the Hurricane Helene response. Meanwhile, I want to show you something cool. Let's end on an optimistic note, because there's a lot of positive energy out there as we see Vice President Harris and Governor Tim Walz doing all these interviews and doing all these campaign stops. But I want to show you both this picture that's up right now and this video from the Florida Communications Director for Vice President Harris's campaign, Carol Molinares. She had stopped by a packed Sumter County Kamala Palooza, they call it. It's the Democratic Executive Committee event there in Sumter County in Florida. And she said, despite the rain, voters across the villages are coming out in record numbers to support Team Harris-Walz. From Republicans to non-party affiliated, Floridians are ready to turn the page on Donald Trump. I want you to watch these people in the villages working to get out the vote for Vice President Harris. Check this out. The villages, people, the villages. That's a Republican stronghold typically. But you know what? I think people all across this country are seeing Donald Trump, they're seeing Vice President Harris, and they are saying, we are not going back to that. We are done with that. We are sick of that. And if you feel the same way, here's what I want you to do. First, check your voter registration, vote.org. Encourage your family and friends to do the same. I want you to subscribe to this channel. We're on our way to 3.5 million subscribers, and you could help us get there. If you already subscribe, hit the notification bell next to the subscribe button. It will alert you every time we have new videos. Also, if you can, hit the like button, leave a comment, let me know what you think of this report. All right, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.
Hey Meidas Mighty, love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram @MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.